Everything happens for a reason. That was the phrase Elisa always heard from her grandmother when things didn't go as expected. But now, with her life shattered, those words seemed empty. Elisa had lost her job, her boyfriend had left her, and as if that weren't enough, she was about to be evicted from her small apartment. Sitting on a park bench, her head in her hands, she couldn't help but wonder why God was allowing all of this to happen to her. "Do you really have a plan for me, Lord?" she murmured through her tears. The sound of footsteps interrupted her thoughts. An elderly man with a humble appearance, holding a worn Bible, sat beside her. Without looking at her, he began to speak. "When I was young, I believed my life was over when I lost everything. But over time, God showed me that everything we go through has a purpose." Elisa looked at him with interest. "How can there be a purpose in so much pain?" The old man smiled. "Sometimes, God takes things away to give us something better. We just need faith to keep moving forward." Elisa sighed. She wasn't sure if she could believe it, but something in the man's words comforted her. Maybe, just maybe, her grandmother was right. Everything happens for a reason. The old man extended his hand and offered her a small folded paper. "Here's an address. Go there tomorrow morning. God always opens doors where we least expect it." Elisa took the paper with skepticism. "What's there?" "Just go and you'll find out," he replied before standing up and slowly walking away. That night, Elisa barely slept. Her thoughts were tangled between despair and a small spark of hope. The next day, with her last bill in her pocket, she took a bus to the address given. When she arrived, she found herself in front of a small café with a sign that read, "Hope and Faith." She entered timidly and was greeted by a smiling woman. "Hello, are you Elisa? We've been waiting for you." Elisa blinked, confused. "How do you know my name?" The woman smiled. "A mutual friend told us about you. We have an opportunity for someone with your talent. Would you like to hear it?" For the first time in a long while, Elisa felt that maybe, just maybe, God was truly guiding her path. The woman led Elisa to a table at the back of the cafe. There was a sweet aroma of freshly baked bread and hot coffee. On the wall, a chalkboard had a phrase written on it. "God opens paths where there are none." "My name is Anna," the woman said, extending her hand. "This cafe is part of a project to help people going through tough times. We heard about your situation and believe you can be part of our team." Elisa felt a lump in her throat. "But I have no experience in cafes." Anna smiled kindly. "Don't worry, we've all learned over time. All you need is the will and faith." Anna's words echoed in her heart. She remembered the old man and his message about faith. Maybe this was the door God was opening for her. She took a deep breath and, with a slight smile, replied, "I accept." Anna clapped excitedly. "Welcome to Hope and Faith. God brought you here for a reason." For the first time in days, Elisa felt that she was not alone. God had guided her here, and now everything was beginning to make sense. Days passed, and Elisa began to adjust to her new life in the cafe. She learned how to prepare coffee, serve customers, and, most importantly, listen to the stories of those who walked through the door looking for more than just a hot cup. Hope. One day, while cleaning a table, she heard a young woman sobbing in a corner. She approached cautiously and saw a girl her age with red eyes. "Are you okay?" Elisa asked gently. The young woman looked up and shook her head. "I've lost my job, my boyfriend left me, and I'm about to be homeless. I feel like my life is falling apart." Elisa felt a chill as she heard those words. It was like seeing herself just days ago. She sat down in front of her and took her hand. "I understand more than you know, but believe me when I say that God has a purpose for you. I also thought everything was lost, but he guided me here." The young woman looked at her in awe. "Do you really believe that?" Elisa nodded with certainty. "Yes, everything happens for a reason, and maybe God brought you here today so you can discover that." The young woman wiped her tears and looked around. "This place is different. Feels peaceful here." Elisa smiled. "It's because here we don't just serve coffee. We share faith, love, and hope. God brought me here when I needed it, and I believe he has brought you here now." Anna approached with 2 cups of hot tea and placed a hand on the young woman's shoulder. "God never abandons us. Maybe this is your new beginning." The young woman took the cup with trembling hands. "But what if nothing improves? I'm afraid." Elisa took a breath and responded tenderly. "Fear is normal. I had it too. But when I decided to trust in God, things started to change. Just take one step at a time." The young woman sipped a little of her tea, as if trying to absorb the warmth and peace being offered. "Maybe I can try." Anna smiled. "You're not alone. Here you'll always have a place." The young woman sighed deeply and took the cup of tea in her trembling hands. "Thank you. You don't know how much I needed this." Elisa felt a lump in her throat. She remembered the despair of her darkest days and how a simple conversation with a stranger had changed her life. Maybe now it was her turn to do the same for someone else. "God puts us on the right path when we least expect it," Elisa said softly. "We just have to trust." The young woman nodded and, for the first time in a long while, smiled faintly. This cafe didn't just serve hot drinks. It offered something far more valuable, a new opportunity to believe. The days passed, and the young woman, whose name was Mariana, began to visit the cafe more frequently. Although at first she was reserved, little by little, she started to open up to Elisa and Anna. She listened carefully to their words of faith and hope, though she still had doubts in her heart. One afternoon, while helping Anna clean the tables, Mariana dared to ask, "How can I know that God really has a plan for me? What if all of this is just a coincidence?" Anna smiled gently. "God is always working, even when we don't see it. Sometimes we just need to take a step of faith and trust." Elisa approached and placed a hand on Mariana's shoulder. "I had those doubts too, but when I decided to believe, God began to open paths where I once only saw obstacles." Mariana looked down, thoughtful. Maybe I need to try." Anna and Elisa exchanged a look of joy. They knew the seed of faith had been planted in Mariana's heart. A month later, Mariana came to the cafe with a big smile on her face. "I got a job. It's not much, but it's a start." Elisa hugged her excitedly. "I knew God had something prepared for you." Mariana took a deep breath and said, "Now I understand what you told me that day." "Elisa, everything happens for a reason." Anna, with pride in her eyes, took her hands. "God never abandons his own. And now that you've taken a step of faith, you'll see how he continues to guide your path." Elisa, Mariana, and Anna held hands and prayed together. In that small cafe, united by faith, they understood that God has a purpose for each one of them, even in the darkest moments. And so, amidst a cup of coffee and words of encouragement, Elisa understood that her suffering had not been in vain. Because sometimes, God allows us to go through trials so that someday we can be the answer to someone else's prayer.